Welcome to this episode of Random Guy number 6. Today I'm going to be tackling a full pantry remodel. So it needs a new light, new shelves, and a paint job. So let's check it out. So the inside of this pantry is very cluttered currently, so let me go ahead and get this emptied out. Now that all the clutter is gone, you can kind of see exactly why we need to change this out. We've got boards that are just kind of hanging there, and this is a very, very deep shelf. So when you're trying to stack things in here and you've got things towards the back, it's just very, very inconvenient to actually organize things. So let's go ahead and rip all these things out, then we can start with a clean slate. The first thing I'm going to do now that the shelving is out is install a new light. These are LED lights with their own little electrical boxes, so let me show you how to do that. Removing the old lights is fairly simple. You just unscrew these until the glass comes loose. Usually 3 or 4. Take the bulb out so you don't break that on your face. And undo the couple screws. Undo the wires. And that's done. So we don't need this old mounting box that's here anymore, because that'll get in the way of the new light. Most of your LED style lights like these flat ones will come with their own ring. So you can figure out exactly where you need to cut. You can just set it on there and trace around it. Then we can cut out the hole with a multi-tool. I'm going to cut it a little bit on the inside. I just want to make sure that I don't cut it too big, and I want a nice tight fit. I just want to make sure all of the wires are even, so we'll cut this ground wire down, clean it off because there's paint all over it, so we can actually make good contact. And then we have the new box. Now this one is actually super easy. The new wires just kind of plug right in, but I need to pump a hole in one of these first. Just take a screwdriver, and that's pretty much it. Take the new wires, slide them in the hole, and then just match the colors. That's done, you can kind of tuck them down, close the top. Tuck this box up in there out of the way. The new light plugs right in. Kind of. And then we can check the hole size. Make sure your wire's not pinched anywhere. And it's that easy. Now we're ready to actually figure out where these shelves are going to go. The first thing we need to do is find all the studs and get everything marked out. So we should take our stud finder, put it on the wall, push the button to calibrate it, and then move it until we find a stud. And that's the center of that one. Mark that. Now I've got this handy dandy laser level that's going to help me mark my lines. If you're only doing like one line, you can just use it and just screw into it, but I've got multiple lines all over the place, so I'm just going to use this and then still mark my lines on a pencil. You don't have to have one. You can mark your lines a couple places up the studs and just use something to draw your lines, but this part of it's just going to make my life easier, so I have one. And then mark my lines. Now we're ready to start actually marking where the shelves are going to go. So here's a graph basically of what she gave me as a guideline for spacing of the shelves. Now, more than likely your floor is not perfectly level all the way around, even though this is a very tiny room. So we need to measure up on the wall in a few different places for exactly where the shelves are going to go. We're going to mark that out and then basically pick the highest one and then mark that line around. So at least we know that the bottom of the shelf is at the very lowest point as high as they want it. So after double checking with the homeowner and double checking her measurements for everything after I had it all marked out, we decided to change some lines. So I have some here that are marked off. These are the actual new lines, and I'll show you the next step. So I'm going to be using these very heavy duty brackets. So what I want to do here is line up the top and line up the center. And once I got those, I want to mark these out. So I know where my screw holes and everything are going to go. Once those are marked, I'm going to pre-drill everything so the screws go in nice and easy. Then we can screw these in for the test fit. Now I only need to do that 30 more times.
Went down to the river, washed my sins away. Pray, 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 and pray for another day. I went down to that river, washed my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank, staring back at me. I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man. Another nail in my coffin, another nail for me.
Now that all the brackets are in, it's time to actually measure each shelf and get everything fitted in here. There's a lot of walls that aren't straight, so you're going to want to go ahead and measure the back corner, and you're going to want to measure that front edge just to see how well everything lines up, if it's straight or not, and then you need to adjust your cut accordingly. Now when cutting this kind of stuff, make sure you have a finish blade on here. This way you don't get really rough or jagged edges on these shelves. Okay, so it's a little too tight, but a lot of times what you have is excess buildup of drywall mud in these corners. So I'm going to try to account for that little bit of offness by just moving my thing over like 1 degree, just ever so slightly. Let's see if that little degree of offset was enough to get this thing to fit. And it was. So now that I have the one side done, I'm going to start installing the other side. Now we want this seam to line up as perfectly as possible. So I'm setting the board across and then marking it from the underneath. And that should give us the perfect seam. And there we go. Now that the shelves are in, I just need to attach this spice rack to the wall, which is pretty good size, so just kind of line it up, mark the holes. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no studs where I need them to be, but we'll check anyways. Nope. And nope. So these don't hold a lot of weight, so I'm just going to use these like regular drywall anchors to anchor this thing to the wall. And they're super easy to use. Then we can just screw this thing in with the screws that came provided with it. Next, there's a bunch of little can shells that are basically going to go in between here and here, kind of the full length of the shelves here. So you can see here on the technical drawing given to me by the homeowner exactly the spacing in between, so each of the cans can fit each of their designated spaces. These are going to install just like all the other shelves, so I'm going to speed this up.
I gotta look pretty when I go down. Nothing in my coffin, can't you spare one more? I gotta look pretty when I'm knocking down heaven's door. I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man, I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man walking, I'm a dead man.
So now that I've got all of the shelves installed and everything is basically set to exactly where it needs to be, it's time to rip it all out. So I'm going to pull all the shelves out, pull all the brackets off, mark all of the bigger ones so I know exactly where they go since everything is already set, and we can start making this thing look pretty. So now that I'm back to square one, I'm going to show you how to patch all these holes, but first I need to tape the baseboard. Now I'm going to tape this baseboard basically to keep all of the patching and stuff from getting all over the baseboard, and it also helps keep the spray of the paint from the roller from splattering your baseboard. Now if you take the edge that's going into the corner and just kind of rip it at a diagonal, that'll make your life a little bit easier. Get it kind of close to the length, you don't have to get it perfect. Then once you're in the corner, And you want to make sure that that is completely covered. If you've got a gap and you can wrap it behind, do that. Make sure you push your tape on really well. Just in case you do get paint on it, then you won't get bleed on through underneath it. Now to patch all the old holes and fix any imperfections, I like to use this Ready Patch, and I'll show you why. This stuff basically has the consistency of a silly putty. So I'm going to show you a basic hole and why this stuff is so great. So you can kind of push it in there, fill up that hole really easily. It's good for small holes, medium holes. Once you get it kind of full, you can just spread it around ever so slightly. Give it a dab, and that will completely disappear when you paint over it. Now if you have something a little bit more egregious where the paint is kind of peeling off, you can kind of do the same thing. Mush it into the edge to kind of get rid of that ugly looking edge. Fill up your hole. And just kind of play with it with your fingers a little bit. And then that will be completely disappeared. So I'm just going to rip through the rest of these real quick.
She was a modern day gypsy when she stumbled into town. She had some tricks up her sleeve, and she took my heart and disappeared. She went up that mountain just like I feared.
While waiting for all those patches to dry, I'm going to go ahead and take care of all of these shelves. So all of these smaller ones need to be sanded, primed, and painted. So let's start there. So you can see all of these groove marks from the saw from cutting it. We're going to sand that smooth. Now once the edges are done, I am going to do both sides of the white because I am going to paint that part of these as well. The white part just needs a light scuff so that the paint sticks better.
Come on down from Shanker Mountain, shake for me one more time. Won't you come on down from Shanker Mountain?
All of these larger shelves are brand new, so the only thing that I'm going to do to these is to prime this outer edge. Now what that's going to do is seal in that edge just in case you spill some type of fluid, it doesn't get back behind and underneath anything and make these things just start to warp and not be any good. Just want to roll it on. And after you roll on each edge, you want to wipe the top and wipe the bottom to get the primer off of that edge.
All right. Now my daddy told me in earnest not to go up that trail.
On to the little guys. Now because we did sand all sides of these, we are gonna wipe down or vacuum, whatever you prefer to do, all of the sides of this so there's no excess stuff, and then we'll coat them. Now to do these little guys, it's gonna be a similar process. You're just gonna do all the edges first, flip it around, then do the top. Try and get it as smooth as you can. And then you can just use the drop to clean off the bottom. Now if you've got drips coming down the sides, you can just wipe it with your finger and then move on to the next one.
Should be nervous that I might come back a different man, or not at all.
While the primer is drying, I'm back inside. I'm going to show you how to finish up these little bits of patches and get these ready for actual paint. So here's what the patches look like dry. We just need to give them a really light sand around the edges. Nothing too crazy, just to kind of smooth it out just a hair. You don't want these things perfect, otherwise they'll stand out. Once we got that, we just put a little primer on it. And these ones I'll knock down a little bit more so I can see, but you can see the other ones are pretty much disappeared. So when the paint's dry, I'll probably sand those down a little bit more and kind of make them disappear more like these ones did. Now that the primer is all dry, I'm going to sand off any little imperfections quick. You can see it's nothing too crazy, just if there's any little bumps. Anything crazy looking on the edges, you just basically knock off anything that doesn't look smooth. So it's finally time to give these things their final pristine coats of paint. So I'm just going to be using the wall paint. This is actually really good paint. I'm going to put 3 coats on here, and that should give us enough durability. Since I am rolling these and it is a smooth surface, I'm using this nice 6-inch foam roller. That'll give us a smooth-ish finish. If you wanted a perfectly smooth finish, you can spray it. I have other videos where I've actually sprayed things, kitchen cabinets and such, but these aren't that important. You kind of want a little bit of grip on them anyways because you're going to be putting things on and off of them, and you don't want them super slick. So we're just going to roll these out. Plus there's only a few.
Just to see if my voice could reach those peaks. But all I got in reply.
The difference between a good project and a great project is the details. So we're going to work on these little guys. We're going to paint all of the screw heads so that everything matches. I've got this primer. I just grabbed any primer that I had sitting on the shelf. You don't got to get when you're painting, you kind of want to hit it from all angles. I'm going to go ahead and let that primer dry. Then I'm going to hit it with a couple coats of white gloss. I just have any other random stuff I had on the shelf because, you know, they're just screw heads, so they just need to be white and kind of match everything else. Well, it's finally time to give this pantry a new coat of paint. The walls and ceilings are both getting a blazing white color, so I'm just going to cut these corners out and then roll it. So I'm going to start with the ceiling, but I don't want any globs.
Cold, cold breeze and that winter freeze coming down. Come on down from Shaker Mountain, shake.
The walls are going to be the exact same process as the ceiling. We're going to cut out the edges, then roll each center, and do one wall at a time. So let's get to it.
More time, won't you come on down from Shaker Mountain, shake. Right by my side, won't you shake right by my side? Won't you shake right by my side? All right, all right.
The paint is all dry, these walls are looking nice, so it's time to actually reinstall all the brackets, shelves, and get everything put back together before we start the final step. final step to make these things look nice is going to be to run a bead of caulk around the entire outside edge. Now that's going to do several things. It's going to protect the back edge, it's going to keep fluids or any kind of dry goods from just falling down on every single shelf, and it looks nicer. So let's get to it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Random Guy number 6. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're thinking about doing a pantry of your own and remodeling it, maybe this gave you a few ideas. If it did, please leave a like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you soon.